Hello and welcome to Stir Crazy Arts classes with Gerald Savine, lesson number 12, continuing lesson 11. We're going to carry on painting the Malvern Hills now. We're going to work with greens and yellows and hopefully we can show you, I'm mixing up the colour in the middle of the palette this time. I'm just bringing a bit of yellow in and a bit of the green in. Now remember from before I said about mixing colours, bringing a darker colour, stronger colour into the lighter colours. So here, and again, the light is coming from the left, so this side of the hills here, particularly this one, will be lighter, brighter, thinner. So I'm going to put the colour on like this. Now that's quite a lot there, so I'm going to wash my brush out. I want to thin this down. Now because it's thin, I can afford to paint over the trees that we're having there. So we're having that, and again I'm taking the colour up that way because the hill's going up that way. I'm going to bring in a little bit stronger colour now here. Again, just get rid of some of that colour on the paper, and again just pulling it up. Just get a little bit of character into the hills, and again here I'm going to bring in a bit of yellow ochre. Just again that will soften the green down a bit. And then coming over this side of the hill, I'm keeping it fairly, bringing still a little bit of yellow into it, but I'm going to now pull the colour down this way, and again as I come down, hopefully we should thin it down, because we don't want to be too strong at this stage. Okay, and again here, because we're going this way with the colour, just wash the brush out. Damp brush, bring the two together. You see how it just gives a feeling of light coming from that way. While I'm at it, I'm going to paint this one down here as well. And here the grass has got a bit dry, so we've got a bit more of the yellow ochre in, just to sort of soften the colour down a bit. And again here, it's lighter here. Now again and be careful, get rid of the water off the brush, and again just thin it down, and then again we can afford to go over this because these are quite dark, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring some of this other green in, coming through there, and let them blend together, and then I'm going to bring a bit more of the green. I'm going to bring a tiddly little bit of the burnt sienna, cerulean blue into there as well, just to change the colour a little bit, to make it different from the colour here. But again, you can see I'm taking the colour down, I'm working it around. That's just a little bit of slightly stronger there as well. Now you might think, yeah, that's a bit of a mess at the moment, but then gradually it will all come together. And again now here I'm going to be careful. So I'm going to bring in, I've just picked up some colour straight out of the green, and this is a sap green. I'm just going to pull it over that way. And again I just put it, so we're just building the pigments up. It's the same colour, but as we bring more pigment in, it makes it darker. Can you see the difference there? Now again here I'm just going to be a bit more blue into the green for the next bit of hill, because the other thing is, as the land goes away from you, the atmosphere gets, as it were, deeper, stronger, and things tend to change colour. It goes slightly bluer. And the foreground here, I'm going to put a bit of ultramarine in this as well now, just a fiddly bit, but again it won't be too strong at this stage. But you see again it will begin to push the colour back. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn that into the trees at the back there as well. And then here again we've got the slightly darker green coming through, more shadow, but again it's gone bluer as well. Can you see, because it's going away from us. So the, shall we say, the duller something gets, the more it's subtle, the more it tends to be further away. Where again down here you've got brighter colours there as well. And I'm just going to pull up here. It's giving a bit of shape as well to the land around. But can you see how that's working? This is still a bit wet, so I'm going to leave that for a moment, but I shall come back and put a little bit more green onto that. You can do with a bit more green onto that. Now here I'm going to bring back a little bit more lemon yellow into the green, and a bit more than that, just to be a bit cheeky. But again here, taking the colour up and then down. So again, come back to this business, how important your brush strokes are. So I'll go right through to there. And then I'm just going to bring in a bit of the bluey green, where I've had a little bit of ultramarine actually in there, but again, thin it down, don't want it too deep. So we're just going to bring that into there. And again, as it's going into the distance more, I'm going to really sort of bring that colour down so it's quite thin, working over the trees. Hopefully giving some idea, feeling of the sort of shadows that are being created through to there. And then in the distance, again, the things are even thinner now. Now, you've got more time to do this than I have, so I hope this just gives you a guide of how to approach it all. Now again, here I'm going to bring in this colour here, but again, much thinner. Can you see? Hopefully you can see it's beginning to recede away from you. I'm going to bring a little bit of Payne's grey into this as well, just to change that colouring here. I'd like it to be a little bit more subtle. But again, just working it through gives you a bit more shadow this side of the hills. Again, while it's just drying back a bit, I'm just going to bring some of the colouring into the fields that are here. Remember that we're making things to highlight the church building. I'm mixing against this sap green with a bit of yellow ochre, just to give a slight difference, and that's going to come through here. We're going right the way through here. Now again, because we're making the trees darker, we can afford to just brush over. Be careful around the building, because the colour's very different there. All these other places we're working with greens and blues, including obviously the trees. Now then, I want it to be a bit lighter, so I've taken the water off the brush and the colour off, and I can just come back and pull back some of the colour. Alright, so that's beginning to... Now I would like to now see a bit more green there, so I'm going to pick up some sap green on my brush and just put a bit more colour in. Again, see, I'm going this way because the hill is going down that way, and again we can put a little, perhaps just a tiddly bit more colour up here as well. So you can go back and add more colour in. Now here, again, whilst we're messing around with, as it were, the foregrounds and things, I'm going to put a bit more of the lemon yellow in with the green. This is quite a light colour again. You see, again, because it's lighter, now being a little more careful here, because some of these trees are not green. We're going to be using raw and burnt siennas. So again, just a bit more careful there. Through there as well, because it's all part of the same level. Part of the same, we're going to come through into here. And again here, You don't be frightened that I've got to, because I'm working again quite quickly, my colours could actually be a bit more pigment in. But again, I'm just working on the fields at the moment, because then we can then go back and do the trees. And now then, I've got to land up with a bit of a blue colour there. I'm going to discard that, and I'm going to just make it a bit back to being a bit more green here. So at the moment, what we've been doing, we've been working, as it were, on the land before we start doing the trees. And just dabbing it through here. We can bring in a bit more. It's a bit more yellow into here. So more of a squeeze of the yellow. Another 5 minutes before we have to have another break. Washing my brush out. Be careful not to get too wet. You can get things to be thin by just, as you've noticed with the sky, I almost had a dry brush, but I've managed to pull the colour out. And then here we've got this quite nice rich green. And again, at the moment we haven't put any, you see there's shadow and things there, we will worry about that later. We'll let this colour blend into there, and again I'm working the colour, the landscape, because it's flat, as it were, or got a bit of a hump in it, but so we're just taking the colour across. Again, I'm making it a bit darker over this side because there's a little bit of a rise in the land, and then coming down the other side. Careful round here, don't overdo it. Again, I'm just going to bring a bit more green in there. So obviously that's the edge of the field, and there where they stopped cutting the corn. I'm just going to put a bit more into here, which again will just help this to stand out a bit more. Can you see how that's beginning to work? And again, this will work better when we've got the trees and things done over here. So I think we've covered all the little bits of land around. There's a bit over there, so we can, again, that's going to be quite blue, I think, there, the grass. And I want to just quickly look. It's coming up to time. We're going to have to stop. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring a little bit more colour into there, just to darken it down, just to push it into the background a bit more, give it a bit more modelling, let it stand out from the hill in the distance. Okay, so we're going to call that finished for now. The next lesson we'll look at doing the trees. Okay, right.